tracking on something was going to excite you a lot more. I'm going to talk something closer home to India. Recently there was a function in Kashmir where the Indian Army carried out an iftar celebration. Now, this is a small thing, but there has been a tremendous backlash in social media. People have not liked it, that why did the army do this thing? And so the army, which had tweeted this information earlier, withdrew the tweet. So many people have asked me, what's going on? I say, what's going on? I'm in the Indian Army. First of all, why have the iftar celebration? Then why withdraw the tweet? Let's have a look at what exactly is the Indian Army. That's a very important point. See, in 1947, India was one country, one army, and this was known as the British Indian Army. The commanders were generally British officers. The CNC was always an Englishman. But certain Indians were coming up. They were all Indians, whether they were Pakistani or they were from this place, they were part of the game. At that time, 40% of the Indian army was of Muslim origin. And out of 2.5 million men which fought in the Second World War, almost 800,000 professed the Muslim religion, Muslim faith. You can't bother about that. That's part of fact. That's a historical fact, It's something which is ingrained in the whole thing. Now, what happens next? In 1947, there was a division, and all the Muslim regiments, they went to Pakistan, and nothing was left in India. The British at that time, let's bear in mind one very important point, carried out a recruitment not on the basis of religion. There was nothing like a Hindu regiment or a Muslim regiment, no. They had regiments with race and clans. They had the Baluch regiment, the Pathan regiments, the Punjab regiments, the Sikh regiments, the Dogra regiment, the Rajput regiment. There was not a Hindu regiment, nothing like that. But in 1947, all the regiments which professed the Hindu faith came to India, and all the Muslim regiments went to Pakistan. Now, the regiments which went to Pakistan were the Baluch, the Punjabi, Muslimans and all that, and their battle cry was Allahu Akbar. And the regiments which came to India, they had their own war cries, Gurkhas had something, and the Sikhs had their own war cry. But there was no Muslim regiment left in India. So, the division was carried out on communal basis, and let's accept the fact that at that time in 47, India was actually a Hindu army. Now people want to deny it. They say, we are very secular, there's nothing like that. But that is a fact. And it has not changed over the years. India as on date has 1.1 million men in the army. And I think only about 25 to 26,000 Muslims are there. That's less than 2.5%. And the percentage will be even lower if the J&K light infantry, which is about 50% Muslim, are excluded. Then what happens? The majority are Hindus. So this is a window dressing exercise, You have iftar, yevo, and in your cantonment you make a mosque also, when there's no Muslim to pray. And there are so many veterans, talking sometimes out of their mind, saying that we have a tradition of secularism in the army. Well, it was there in 1947, and if there was secularism in the army, the Indians would have insisted, let's have some Muslim regiments also, and even if the Muslim regiments had gone, they could have set up the Muslim regiments here. There are plenty of Muslims in India, UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, there are so many, but nobody did it, nobody wanted to do it. And so it has continued. So the point which I'm trying to make is that the Indian army, despite all the denial by the veterans and the army chief or anybody, is basically a Hindu army. Now, look at Pakistan. They do not say they are not a Muslim army, they say we are a Muslim army, a sword arm of Islam. But there also they have Hindus in their army, and the other day I was reading two Hindus from Sindh, which is close to the Indian border, there in Pakistan, have been promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. And one of them is a doctor. So there you are. There are Hindus, of course there are minuscule, there are not that many Hindus are hanging around here and there in Pakistan. And then there was one Sikh also who was given a commission in the Pakistan army. But the minorities, the Hindus constitute just about 2% of the population. So that is again window dressing. I mean, you have some Hindus, they know. And I remember reading about Air Vice Marshal Eric Hall. He was an Anglo-Indian, who opted to go to Pakistan in 1947 in the Pakistan Air Force, and he ultimately left Pakistan in disgust, took American citizenship after General Zia took over and began to Islamize the army. He said, goodbye, I can't stay in this country. But these are the trends, the repercussions, and we must live in reality, not just keep talking something here and there and say that, well, look, we are a very secular army, we have this thing, that thing. I mean, you have nothing. You don't have any Muslim regiment, you don't have any regiment with the Muslim war cry, and though in the officer cadre, there are no restrictions, there are no, any quotas or something, and Muslims are come, but Muslims themselves don't want to come. And 8 Muslims in the last 75 years have achieved the rank of Major General in the Indian Army. So there is no discrimination. I mean, that part has to be accepted. But no discrimination, yes. But doesn't mean that the Indian Army is not a Hindu army. Why do we feel shy about it? And why should we not say that we have a preponderance of Hindus in the army? There's no point. And there's no need of any window dressing like holding an iftar. And in fact, the army shouldn't hold any religious function whatsoever. Whether it's Guru Tegh Bahadur, Guru Gobind Singh or anything. Army is supposed to be a professional force and shouldn't bother about religious festivals and things like that. The army as it is in India is like an imported tiger, frankly. I mean, they got no say in the country. They have been emasculated by the political leadership. And it has happened not now, right from the time of General Cariappa. He was the first and the last commander-in-chief of the Indian Army, because after that Nehru abolished that post. And Cariappa agreed. Then the fellow came, General Rajendra Singh, he agreed. He agreed for the lowering of pensions. Then we had General Manekshaw, I mean, a great chap, and we rated him very highly. But then as a field marshal, he could have done a lot more for the armed force. He did nothing, except making a silly statement like if I had gone to Pakistan would have won the war, and that angered Indira Gandhi and he paid the price for it. So we must bear this in mind, that India is a Hindu nation predominantly, and the army is a Hindu army. We trade our traditions. We look to the old traditions of not the army of Vikramditya or Ashok or Chandragupta. We look at the immediate British Indian Army as the mother force from where the Indian Army has come up. And the British, for reasons which they felt are good, confined the recruitment only to certain classes. It's not an open recruitment. Now the Sikhs, they constitute 1.7% of the population but had about representation about 8%. The Muslims have about 15% and they are less than 2% in the army. So obviously there is some catch, somewhere something is going on. And I can also know, as far as I understand, one of my RAW officers told me that no minority community member is ever included in RAW. the Indians are not keeping him anybody there. At the same time, there's a lot of debates going on. Some veterans keep saying we are secular and all that. Yes, what is secularism? Secularism means that you are allowed to profess your own religion the way you want, and nobody's going to interfere with you. Secularism doesn't mean you're holding an iftar and trying to placate some Muslims here and there and all that. So, gentlemen, I hope this small video will be of some interest to you all. I close now, and with my standard trademark, Jai Hind. God bless you all. I hope you like this video, something new, and please do subscribe and tell your friends about it. Goodbye.